Good evening and welcome to Creative Cabin Fever. On this instalment, we have Waterford sweetheart, Tadhg Williams. Tadhg, how are you?
Hello, how's the farm? How are you keeping?
Good, and yourself?
Grand, no complaints. Happy out. I'm in quarantine in lockdown, out in Sleeve with my parents and my sister, and yeah, all happy. No complaints. We're getting on well. We haven't killed each other yet, so that's always a bonus.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people are finding it difficult in some ways to be with family, and then other people are finding it difficult to be away from family. So it's nice when families aren't killing themselves. You guys seem to get on really well as a unit anyway, so.
Yeah, we do. We've always been a very close family anyway. I mean, we all have the same interests. I mean, our parents brought us up loving football and loving music, so we kind of don't clash too much because we're very similar as a unit, and we kind of make time for each other during the day, and we make time to be away from each other during the day as well, which is healthy. So usually during the week, both my parents are working from home at the moment, so they'll work in two separate rooms, and I'll do whatever I'm doing in my own bedroom. My sister goes off and does whatever she does in her own bedroom, and we all have our different spaces. And then at about 5 o'clock, we'll actually come together for dinner, and then to sit down and watch telly in the evening time, or whatever it is. So we do kind of it's a healthy arrangement, I think. We're seeing enough of each other, but not seeing too much of each other.
Yeah, no, that sounds really, really beautiful. Obviously, I'm doing 4 days on, 4 days off with my son. So the 4 days on are very full on, and then the 4 days off are work,
Yeah, absolutely.
So a lot of people in Waterford obviously know you quite well. But for anyone who's not from Waterford, obviously it'd be great for you to talk about all your accomplishments. So Busgate would be one of the big things for you.
Yeah, I suppose what I do is I'm a songwriter by trade, is the way I describe myself. In that, like, I love writing songs, and specifically lyrics. So I do write poems as well. So yeah, poetry and songwriting is what I do. I've been doing the rounds in Waterford, I suppose, the last few years. I'm living in Dublin now for college, so I'm attempting to do the rounds up there. And yeah, that's what I do. And then Busgate as well. Obviously, Busgate was a thing I started 4 years ago. We have just had our fourth Busgate last Christmas, and it is something we do every year for local homelessness charities in Waterford, to raise money for them. And it's basically a busking festival, and it's brilliant. And like, I would have busked a lot when I was growing up, when I was a teenager. Every weekend or every holiday from school, I'd go into Waterford and I'd busk, and that was how I made my moolah. I didn't have an actual job until I was about 19. I just busked up until then. And yes, that's where it all came from. That's how it all started, I suppose.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful idea. It's such a beautiful thing to see the whole town just busking and music everywhere, and to be doing it for such a beautiful cause as well. So fair play to you.
It's magic. It's lovely to do every year. And it's getting bigger every year as well. I mean, last year, with the help of Viking Promotions, we had the gig in what's it called now, Electric Avenue, and that was incredible. That was a great night, and that really added to our final tally. So that's the hope now going forward, that every year we'll do something a little bit bigger, or we'll do something new. Winterville gave us spaces this year to be able to put on acts as well, which is brilliant, and we were in the Winterville programme. So yeah, we're always kind of looking to improve Busgate and making it bigger. And I think the town reacts to that. I think the city reacts to that big time. And I hope it's become a tradition for people in Waterford at Christmas anyway. It certainly has for me and for the rest of the lads that are involved. So it's magic. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's really, really beautiful. And then obviously at the moment you've just launched a single. So talk to us about it, My Father's Cloud.
Yeah, sorry, I'm dropping things.
He's dropping tea. That's okay.
My Father's Clouds, I brought out in February, 28th of February, and I just brought out the music video for it this week. And it's done very, very well. I've been very surprised actually at how well it's done. It's gotten a couple of plays on RT Radio 1, which is fantastic. That was my my main goal with the single, was I wanted to get national airplay, specifically with Radio 1, because there's a lot of radio DJs in there that I really admire, the likes of John Creedon and Colin Murray and Beaton O'Brien on, and two of those three played it, which was incredible. You know, that was a great feeling. And I got some great local support as well. I mean, Beat 102, 103 were playing it nearly every single Sunday. Rob O'Connor was playing it nearly every single Sunday for a few weeks. Ray Coakley and WLR gave it great bit of exposure as well. So it's always great to have the local stations behind you. You know, got great support in Donegal as well. Actually, Highland Radio played it a good bit, which was fantastic. KCLR and Kilkenny did. Kilkenny and Carlow played it an awful lot as well, which was brilliant. Got a bit of play in Cork. So yeah, it was lovely to see all the radio plays coming in, and it's only now actually that I'm reflecting on all the places that it did get played. Like obviously, having done a little bit of work in radio and knowing the importance of radio to Irish music, my own project to get that kind of support, that kind of wide support across Irish radio, was incredible. But yeah, it did really well, and it was lovely. It was a lovely project to do, the Father's Cloud single, because there was so many different elements to it. We had obviously the single itself, the music video that came out this week, and the gigs as well. The gigs were magic. It was the first time doing a headline gig and doing like a little tour. It was incredible, and playing with a full band. That was another experience altogether. Something I'll never forget as well. You know, so it's done really well. It was a magical, memorable couple of months anyway, definitely.
Yeah, I made it to the Waterford leg of that, and it was absolutely enchantingly beautiful, and spoken word and everything, and the poem book at the end, just absolutely incredible. So definitely something very different, you know, and that's kind of part of who you are. You know, your brand of magic's very special, but you also always support other artists and always help share the good word, and so you're so good that way. Of course it's coming back to you, you know. And Donegal, it's obviously because you're a catch, you know what I mean?
I don't, yeah, I don't know where the Donegal. Let's just say they like the music in Donegal, which I appreciate it. Yeah, no, yeah, I suppose I do try and support other artists where I can. I mean, having kind of worked in radio the last few years, specifically working in Irish music and promoting Irish music, I've become very aware of some of the incredible acts there are throughout Ireland, but not just, you know, and in Waterford as well specifically. And it's given me great insight into how the industry works, and the different legs of the industry, and you know, the PR aspect of it, and the you know, I was one of the judges for the Choice Awards this year, which was another incredible experience. But it was incredible of that actually, was you were in a room with 11 other judges who were all as passionate about Irish music as you are, which was weird. It was weird to be in an environment that, you know, everybody was really intensely into the same thing. That was really cool. But yeah, I suppose I kind of, you know, I think I'm going to get a little bit political here for a minute, right? So there's very much a kind of a discussion about nationalism and what it means to have a national identity at the moment. And a lot of that is being brought up by right-wing groups and all the rest. But, you know, their view of nationalism is opposite to my view of nationalism, if you like. You can be nationalist in more ways than just protesting about borders and things like this. My form of nationalism, I suppose, is by supporting Irish music and trying to promote Irish music and Irish artists. Somebody else's form of nationalism might be being intensely into Irish film. Somebody else's form of nationalism could be, I don't know, supporting Irish business as much as they can. So I think the word nationalism has very much gotten a bad rap, because of the right-wing political connotations it's gathered in the last while. But I think, you know, we need to put a positive spin on that word when it comes to the arts, and to be positively nationalist about Irish arts, and support Irish arts as best we can. And if I can play a little bit of a role in that and promoting Irish music, I will do that.
Yeah, I believe we sing from the same hymn sheet on that one, you know what I mean? Everything I do is for the Irish scene, like whether it's the underground, even stuff I don't particularly like, because it'll spark joy in someone. It's not ultimately my taste that matter. It's supporting Irish and making sure that everything's played. Like in France, for instance, I use this as an example the whole time. The laws are very strict on radio. You have to play, I think it's 75% French music. So a
Wow.
lot of really famous bands, like let's say Chris Cornell had to do French voiced over versions of his songs so they'd get the airplay he deserved. And that's
Wow.
kind of how you approach that.
Okay.
So do that to save the language, the way like Irish people are always fighting for Irish to be on the radio.
Yeah. Especially with this whole C word situation, I'm not going to mention it, but there has been a lot of talk about how we can support Irish artists more and Irish musicians. Obviously, there's a load of live streams and stuff going on at the moment, and that's all great. But you know, artists aren't making money in their usual ways. I mean, especially for musicians, like the amount of gigs that musicians have lost out on and income is incredible. So there have been discussions about how best to support Irish artists in this situation, whether it's buying merch or buying their music online rather than streaming it or things like this. But the big one, I think, is the government should push for more Irish artists on radio. I mean, I think at the moment it's something like 12% or something like that. It's quite a low figure. Now that could be, I could be completely wrong with that. That could be just a figure that I came up with on the spot. But I do know it's quite a low figure in comparison to other countries. So I do think we need to seriously have a look at Irish music quotas on radio. You look back to the 80s and the 90s in Ireland. Irish music was massive. I mean, you know, people were packing out the Bridge Hotel every week to see the likes of the Stunning or whoever was playing there. You know, why isn't that happening anymore? Why aren't Irish acts as popular nowadays as they were then? And I think radio has a lot to do with that. You know, I think radio is a massive influence on people, and people don't realize it. I have a theory that, you know, people that are into that kind of don't really aren't as intensely into music as other people would be, and just like whatever's in the charts is because that's what their ear is tuned to, because it's on the radio the whole time. And I think if we could retune people's ears to Irish music, to what's good in Irish music, we could seriously make a difference. And I mean, you know, there's a lot of Irish artists producing the same kind of music that's in the charts. I mean, there's some incredible rappers out there, some incredible pop artists. There's a girl called Luz, Luz, who just, I think it was her debut single she released a little while ago. And she's a total pop artist, but she's incredible. She's fantastic. She's got an incredible voice. There's Kelly, who I interviewed in the station there last year. There's another incredible pop artist coming out. There's some actually fantastic female pop and R&B artists coming out of Ireland at the moment. And you know, I think they're the artists that Irish radio should really, really be supporting, instead of playing, I don't know, Kanye West's new single. I don't even know if Kanye West brought out a new single, to be honest. But like, you know, that's what I mean. You know, there's so many more artists we should be supporting that are playing the same kind of music that's popular at the moment. It should be Irish artists that are being played on radio.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like, obviously, both of us know that it's not a question of quality content. Do you know what I mean? It's just a question that people are not having the easy access to these incredible artists from all over our country that are smashing it. Like, there's so much music out there being completely overlooked. Like, one of my big issues is that Waterford is constantly overlooked. So I'm trying to push that in any way I can to get any Waterford artist any bit of notice, because once Waterford gets noticed, everyone gets noticed and everyone's doing well, you know?
Absolutely. When it comes to Waterford, the two examples I always use are Backroad Smokers Club and Chrome Yellow. I mean, the two of those are huge bands in Waterford. Huge. Everybody knows who the two of them are in Waterford. Outside of Waterford, they don't have much of a name, which I think is absolutely chronic. I mean, Chrome Yellow last year brought out an incredible album, absolute work of art. And the singles they brought out so far from the upcoming album they're so diverse. They're they're incredible, you know. And how that's not being picked up on outside of Waterford more is just astounds me. Absolutely astounds me. So I think like they're two bands that should have been up there with the best in Ireland the last few years, but it's because they're not Dublin based that they haven't been getting the plaudits that they deserve, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I think like the likes of yourself and hopefully myself as well, are the kind of people that are trying to push that kind of music out of Waterford, in whatever way we can. You know, like the last couple of weeks I've been helping the lads on 7 Levels getting their debut single out to radio stations across the country and blogs and stuff. And that's done well enough. Dan Hegarty gave it a play on 2FM there last week, which is great. And it's gotten a nice bit of coverage. So, you know, Golden Pleck had it in their Irish tracks to listen to this week or whatever. So, you know, hopefully that's some kind of contribution. But yeah, I would like to see our Waterford acts getting more credit that throughout the rest of the country. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we're both fighting the same fight. So that's brilliant. I'm just approaching it slightly differently, but it's the same fight, you know?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So just out of interest, what have you been discovering yourself since you started lockdown?
I started discovering that I'm a total night owl, and that I haven't been going to sleep until about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not getting out of bed until about 12 or 1 o'clock every day. Yeah, my time clock is all over the place, or my sleep clock is all over the place, but you know, it is what it is. It'd be grand if I was living on my own, but because I'm living with other people, I can't really be up playing music at that time or whatever, so I just find myself watching loads of Netflix. But what have I discovered about myself? I've discovered that I am a writer of experience, that I need to be out in the world and talking to people and meeting people and seeing things and experiencing things, to come up with new music or to come up with new lyrics or lines or whatever. So from a writing perspective, I'm struggling quite a bit in lockdown. I thought I was going to do a lot more writing, but I haven't been. But that's okay. That's just my method or whatever. I have been trying to delve into kind of the writing perspective of, you know, being influenced by a documentary or by a film or by a book. And I'm just finishing off a song at the moment that I'm writing about the Spanish Civil War that I've been working on since I was actually writing an essay for college on the Irish involved in the Spanish Civil War, and I got very interested in it, and I found a documentary on YouTube called Even the Olives Are Bleeding, which was made by RTE back in the 70s, I think, about the Irish involvement in the Spanish Civil War. So I watched that, and I did a little bit more reading up on it. And there was a character from Waterford by the name of Frank Edwards, who was one of the greatest left-wing agitators in the country at the time in the 30s. So I decided to pick him and concentrate on him as a character for a song. And it's quite ballady. It's unlike anything I think I've written ever before. It's very Damien Dempsey-esque kind of a ballad, historical ballad. But it's I like it. It's good. It's coming. It's getting there. So I'll finish that one off. But I would like to write more kind of songs like that I can draw from. You know, I can draw influence from documentaries or from a book or from a film or something like that. I would like to do that a little bit more because I have struggled with that in the past. So yeah, maybe I will rediscover myself as that kind of writer in lockdown. But at the moment, I am struggling writing a little bit. But again, that's okay. What else have I discovered about myself? The tracks that ends are far more comfier than I originally gave them credit for. Yeah, I don't know. I spent a lot of time working on college work. I'm finished college now since last week, and up until last week, college work was basically my priority. So now I'm kind of in that stage where I am trying to discover different things to do during lockdown. I have a little few projects lined up. My grandfather's old armchair is sitting out in the garage, and I'm gonna strip that back and sand it down and freshen it up and give it new life at some stage. When I have the energy or the to do that. But yeah, I have a few little projects in mind that I want to do while we're in lockdown. So I'll get around to all of them. We have plenty of time anyway, but it sounds nice.
Yeah, that's really interesting about your creative process change. I find that really, really fascinating. Everyone seems to be struggling with it their own way. Everyone has their own kind of stance on it. And that was one of the questions. So you answered that beautifully. It's true, you wouldn't really realize where your creativity comes from until you're put in a time like this and you're like, oh, I don't get to talk to people. So how am I going to do this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's spot on. I suppose like oh, Jesus, the majority of my song. I mean, My Father's Clothes is a great example. Like that song, the lyrics of that song came to me very suddenly. I was sitting in Jeff's one Saturday afternoon when I think it was February or March before my leaving cert. I was after escaping from the library for my lunch, and I was sitting in Jeff's with a cup of coffee waiting for my lunch to go along. And Richard Hawley was playing over the stereo, and that's the first line came to me. Richard Hawley in a comfy chair. Of course, the comfy chair bit is very ironic because there isn't a seat in Jeff's that's comfy, but that's part of its charm. And the rest of the song just very much came to me then, and it was a very easy song to write in the moment. But it was having that experience of, like it was in Jeff's, a certain thing happened, a certain moment happened in a certain place that I had so many different connections to, so many memories from, and that I made the connection that my father had so many memories to, connections from. And without being in that place, in that situation, that song wouldn't have came to me. And, there's other songs that I have then, love songs. How are love songs going to happen in this kind of a situation? We're not getting out, we're not meeting people, so we're not going to be heartbroken. So, yeah, they're a few of them. Another song that I love telling the story of is a song that is hopefully going to be on the EP when that's recorded. A song called The Hole in the Wall, which is drawn on a whole rake of experiences that I had, between, dreams. I was at a Johnny McAvoy gig with my grandmother that I got part of the idea from. It was based on a pub in Kilkenny, The Hole in the Wall, which is the smallest little hovel that you've ever been in, but it's an incredible, great pub. And it was all these different experiences that I could draw together to put that song together. So I would very much see myself as a man of the world, a man that likes to get out and experience things to be able to write about them. So yeah, that is suffering a little bit, I think, as a result of this lockdown. But at the same time, I am getting out in the world. Like, I've lived in Sleeve-Rue for 20 years of my life, the last 2 in Dublin, and I'm back in Sleeve-Rue. And I'm only now going off on these big long walks around Sleeve-Rue and discovering parts of Sleeve-Rue that I've never seen before. So that's quite pleasant. It's nice. There's a lot of beautiful scenery around here, which is very nice. So it's nice to be able to kind of retreat like that and explore this kind of the place that you grew up in a new light.
Yeah, no, that is really, really beautiful. Really, really beautiful. So a question I always ask everyone I talk to is, what was the first song you remember falling in love with?
Oh, I think this is gas. This is going to make you laugh. And I don't think this is probably the most unexpected answer you're ever going to get from somebody like me. It was One Step Beyond by Madness. Yeah. My dad and my uncle are both massive Madness fans. And the first album I ever remember listening to growing up was, I think it was the compilation album, a Madness compilation album that my dad used to put on in the living room when I was about 2 or 3 years of age. And I just like run circles around the coffee table, mental to this album. The first track in that album was One Step Beyond. And I think like Madness is magic for a kid because it's the kind of music, it's so happy, cheerful, it's boppy. And like, I always remember that, being in the living room at 2 or 3 years of age and, hey, you, don't watch that. Watch this. Like going on. And whoa, delighted myself. And then and legging it around the living room, happy out. So that's the first memory I ever have of music. And that's the first memory I ever have of intensely loving a song. In terms of songs that made me fall in love with music, as I am in love with music nowadays, if you like, as I am now as a songwriter, as somebody that has a really deep love for music. I'd say it's probably a Glenn Hansard song, some kind of Glenn Hansard song along the way. I mean, I always credit Glenn Hansard with the man that made me fall in love with music properly. I as cringy as it sounds, I remember watching Once for the first time when I was about 13, 14, and it actually changed my life. It is one of those films. It was the first time that I watched the film, and kind of it touched me on it. Like up until then, I was a lad. You know what I mean? Like I was a hurler. I played soccer. I was never the most popular kid in school, but like I was always kind of one of the lads. But then I watched Once and I heard the music, and it was just so beautiful. The story of it was so beautiful that it turned me in a complete different direction. I think I picked up the guitar for the first time about a week after I saw Once. So that's how much of an effect it had on me. So I'd say Falling Slowly, probably, um, being the song that you're introduced to, or is the most well-known song. Although there's so many songs in that film. When Your Mind's Made Up is a song that really hits home, that I really, really loved in that film as well. The opening song of the film, Leave, kind of draws you into the film, and it gives you a very, very sudden introduction to the beauty that is in the film. Um, so it definitely one of the songs from Once, I'd say. If I was to pick one, probably When Your Mind's Made Up, just because it was the passion that you hear Hansard singing that song. It was at that age. It was like like the week before, like 2 hours beforehand, I was probably listening to Flo Rida or somebody like that. But I'd never heard somebody sing with that kind of passion before. And because it was a film as well, I was looking at the passion kind of tearing out from them at the same time. So I'd say it was probably that song that really made me fall in love with music properly.
Wow, and a lot of people have actually been saying Glenn Hansard, unsurprisingly. So it's
Mm.
great to hear some more. Obviously, you're a writer as well. So I'm interested in knowing what was the first written piece you fell in love with, like a poem or book or passage or.
That's an interesting one. I think there's a few books that I loved as a kid, but I think the first poem that I ever read that really made me fall in love with poetry and that actually kind of I got and I understood, and I thought was completely beautiful, was a poem called Sport by Paul Durcan, Irish poet. And the poem is about basically Paul Durcan was in a psychiatric hospital when he was younger, and the poem was quite funny. It was about a Gaelic football match played between two psychiatric hospitals. And Paul Durcan in the poem describes all these different types of characters that were on the different teams, and like his descriptions are hilarious. They're very funny. But the poem is about really is about his relationship with his dad. It turns out that this match is being played on his birthday, on Paul Durcan's birthday, and his dad is there to see him. Um, and it was kind of it's about really the first moment that Paul Durcan felt that his dad was proud of him, which was really, really beautiful. And that poem, we were studying it for the Leaving Cert at the time, and that's how I came across it. But that poem really, really hit. And I think that was the first poem that I ever properly fell in love with. After that, I kind of started to explore poetry a little bit more um, outside of school, and that's when I would have come across, like I would have come across the likes of Emmett Corwin and Stephen James Smith and these guys releasing spoken word videos. And after that, I think I heard Stephen James Smith's My Ireland after that. And then I moved on to some of Emmett Corwin's stuff when I got more into Stephen James Smith's stuff. After that, I started looking a little bit deeper into, Pat Inglesby, Mary Oliver, other poets like this. And then, yeah, and then being exposed as well to that spoken word scene in Waterford as well. So I had so many friends that were writing fantastic poems, and hearing them as well, that would have had quite an influence as well. I have some gorgeous poetry books there. Actually, I have a book by a Dublin writer called Carl Parkinson, and can't name the book now for the life of me. That's another gorgeous poetry book. Some of his poems are really beautiful. His poem about Che Guevara in actually, which I love. So yeah, I suppose it was Paul Durcan's Sport that opened my eyes to poetry. And after that, I started to explore a little bit, you know. But it was, again, it was through experience, through meeting different people and being at different events and stuff, that I came across different writers and different poets. So yeah.
Perfect answers. Now, obviously, one of the big things that me and you have in common passion is obviously live music and live gigs. I was wondering if you wanted to share some of your most memorable gig moments.
Oh, oh God, let me think of that one. The first gig I was ever at, I was 12 years old, and you'll love this. It was Thin Lizzy with Scott Gorham and Brian Downey, along with a load of other musicians. I don't know who else is there. I think Darren Wharton, who played keys on some of the Lizzy stuff, was playing as well that night. But it was them first, Alice Cooper, followed by Def Leppard in the Three Arena when I was 12 years of age. Now, I hadn't heard of Alice Cooper or Def Leppard at that stage. Like, I was going because I was a Thin Lizzy nut. And my dad got me tickets for my birthday. The two of us went to that. That was that was some night. That was incredible. I was knackered by the time Def Leppard came on. I think we left about halfway through Def Leppard set. The earliest after that, I saw the Waterboys at the Tall Ships. I think it was that summer as well. That was some gig. I'll never forget that. That was incredible. The Waterboys were actually, I don't know if you can see the poster there behind me.
Yeah, amazing.
That's the Waterboys when they played in the Butler Centre in 1984, I think. And my dad had that all these years, so I robbed it on him. So that was the poster for that. 1st of February, Waterford Leisure Centre is what it says. So yeah, I always adore the Waterboys. They were one of those bands that my dad brought me up on. Seeing them when I was like, Jesus, for the Tall Ships, that was some gig. That was incredible. Some gigs that I've really fond memories of are the gigs upstairs in Philly Grimes, the Subterranean Sounds put on. I mean, I've been some really beautiful gigs in there. Dermot Barrett, Rosie Plain, they're kind of standouts. York St. Thorn and Cannes, another incredible gig. Been some really beautiful gigs in there. Bell X1 in the Ivy Gardens, probably the best gig I've ever been to. That was a definite highlight. That was incredible. I've always loved Bell X1, mainly because of kind of Paul Noonan has a very quirky way of writing. His lyrics are uniquely Irish, very funny at times, but you know they're very, very quirky. I mean, like the best line, I think the best line ever written by any Irish artist of all time is "You're the chocolate at the end of my cornetto." I just think it's brilliant. Like, where'd you come out of that? But that was an incredible gig. And they came on, full massive band, big sound. About halfway through the gig, a scorching summer night as well. I was there in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt with my dad. And halfway through the gig, it just shut down. Everything shut down. The electricity went. And we were all standing around for about 15, 20 minutes. What was going on? And this guy was coming onto the stage in a megaphone going, "We're going to try and solve the problem. Sorry about this." And the sound had shut down halfway through Flame. And eventually they got everything back up and running again. X1 came back out on stage. They all looked at each other and they just started off from where they left off in Flame. Brilliant. And the rest of the night was incredible. So that's another very, very memorable gig. Lately, I saw David Keenan in the Olympia back in January. And that was a very special gig because I know David about 5 years. And I've seen his career go from where it was when I met him, which was basically had nothing released at the time, to where he is now. Like, he's an international superstar at this stage. Seeing him in the Olympia with a full band, like, demanding the crowd like that, having that kind of a stage presence, that was very special because it was seeing somebody that you've known for so long develop to this point. That was insane. Yeah, I think, I'll be honest with you, I think the best gigs I've ever been to have been the smallest ones. The small ones in a room full of 50 people or whatever it is. There are some pretty memorable gigs in there. So yeah, I'm gonna have to say that Bell X1 gig in the Ivy Gardens. That's definitely the best gig I've ever been to, 100%.
That sounds amazing. And you're right, there's nothing more beautiful than small gigs. There's also nothing more beautiful than seeing an artist you've admired for a very, very long time finally break it. And being
Yeah,
able to say you were there from the beginning of the journey is bizarrely perfect, isn't it?
yeah,
It's like you didn't miss any of the startup, or as much as you couldn't, you know. That's why I'm always trying to get people to go see the support acts, because if your favorite bands, after picking this guy to support them, that means that that speaks to their soul. So it should ultimately speak to your soul if they
yeah.
speak to your soul. And nobody started off at Slipknot level. Do you know what I mean? Everyone started off low end.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think, you know, like I've played a lot of support gigs. I've played so many support slots over the last few years, to rooms full of nobody, basically. I played a support gig back in February in the Workman's Club. First time playing the Workman's Club, and there was nobody there. Literally nobody. The only people who were there for my set were the band I was playing support to. And it was, you know, it was kind of degrading. And you are in those circumstances as a support act where nobody's there to see you. You know, everybody's there to see the main act, and you know that. So you go up on stage in the hope that a few people have come in early, just because they're hanging around, or they wanted to come in early for a drink, or maybe they were really interested in who the support was, so they said they come in early and check him out. And you know, like I've had some beautiful, beautiful support slots. One that sticks out actually was played support to Fields and Whelan's back in October. And the Fields lads have been really, really good to me. They give me a lot of opportunities. They've been really, really good mates. They've really, really supported me in my music. And that was a very, very special gig. It was the first time I played the Whelan's main stage. It was the first time I played with Dylan, who is in the band with me. He was playing piano with me that night, and the sound, everything was incredible. That was a very, very special night. Never forget that one. But as a support act, you do feel very naked almost, you know, kind of like you don't matter. You know, you're just there to kind of fill up time or something sometimes. So you go onto the stage, and sometimes you can go out there and have this attitude in your mind that, you know, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to blow all 12 of those people away. And I'm going to, you know, I'm going to gain 12 more fans. It's going to be great. But most of the time you go out there with an attitude of, and this is the attitude that I've gotten into my head. What I would usually do with support gig is that it's not my night. You know, I'm there as support. I'm there, literally as a support to the band, to give them a hand or whatever it is. You know, to kind of to add to their night. So I'm just going to go out there. I'm just going to do my thing. I'm just going to enjoy it for myself. I'm going to enjoy the crowd that are there. So I usually go on and I'm very relaxed. I'm gonna, hello, how are you? Good to see you all 7 of you, or something like this, you know, and I make a couple of jokes like that and people get laughing. And I find, in my experience, that's when they're the kind of gigs that demand silence from a crowd as a support act. Because very often you play a support slot and everybody's talking away because they're not interested in you or whatever as well. But you know, if you can come on and have a little bit of a laugh with them and kind of play up to the fact that you're, you know, nobody's really there for you, and you're just very humble about it, and you kind of, these are my songs, have a listen if you want. Anyway, yeah, there you go. People are kind of more receptive to that, I feel. But yeah, as a support act, you, like, if there's anybody watching, right, they're going to a gig and this is finished, get to see the support act, because they will appreciate it so much, so much. Really, really, they will. But yeah, you're bang on. Like, support acts, Jesus, they are, they're special to the artist, so they should be special to the fan. You know.
That's completely it. So, who are your picks that I should be listening to right now?
Fields, definitely. This is, like, as I said, like, the lads have been very good to me. I've done a few gigs with them, but having done a few gigs with them, I've seen them live several times, and they constantly blow me away. Their live gigs are incredible. They have this incredible kind of war on drugsy kind of wall of sound thing going on, which I adore. So I was really, really looking forward to their album for a long time. And the album, ironically, is called The Silence of Staying In, which had been planned for a long time. It was just complete coincidence that it was released in the middle of this. but I pre-ordered the album. I got it in the post 2 days before it was actually out, if you like, and I stuck it on, and it finished, and I put it on again, and that finished, and I put it on again, and I'd say I've listened to the album about 8 or 9 times in the space of a week. It is incredible. It's a remarkable album, start to finish. Some brilliant songs on it. But as a complete work, as an album should be, it is absolutely perfect. It's the most perfect album I've listened to in a long time. It's unbelievable. Sophia's The Silence Is Staying In, that album is incredible. I'm really after getting into a Canadian singer-songwriter called Leif Bollebeck, Leif, and then Bollebekkk. That, hold on, do I have paper and I can write it down?
Send it to me later.
He's for the sake of the people watching, I'm gonna write it down as well.
I'll share, what I do is I cross share them on Viking Promotions Instagram. So whatever bands you recommend, I recommend as Tadhg Williams's or whoever I'm interviewing.
Cool. I'm gonna write it down anyway because this is wait now. Well, there we go.
I was actually really interested in the Fields album since you talked about it on World Record Day. I was like, okay, I need to get that, but I'll have to wait till payday. So now I'm doubly excited.
That Leif Bollebeck album is absolutely incredible. That New Ways is the name of that album that he released last year, and I've been listening to that on repeat lately as well. That's incredible. He's a really remarkable songwriter as well. He's got a real kind of Van Morrison, Jeff Buckley kind of thing going on, which I really like. He's a little bit jazzy as well, which is cool. Who else have I been listening to loads lately? I'm trying to think. I was listening to Bruce Springsteen's last album there again. Paul has been a massive Bruce Springsteen fan, but his last album, Western Stars, is incredible. Like, it sounds like the soundtrack of a Western. It's beautiful. Who else have I been listening to? There's some great Irish artists around at the moment, and I'm trying to think of some to recommend. Actually, yeah, here's a great one. You'll love this. The Scratch. Have you heard the Scratches album?
Yes.
Yeah, that is insane. That's so cool. What's the name? Couldn't Give a Rat's is the name of the album. That is really cool. That's gas. That album. It's really good. Jesus, I could send you a big long list of about like 20, 30 albums if you ask me to. I just, you know when you're asked what's your favorite song and suddenly you forget every song that you've ever listened to.
It's really difficult to answer these questions because there's so much. Like the other day I was asked, like, is there any good bands in Waterford? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, really? I was like, yeah, there's so much talent here. And I could name 15 bands, but after that I went dead. Whereas over New Year, I think I shared something like 80 different bands.
Jesus.
So I'm trying to compile a list called, a playlist called Waterford Massive, where I'm including all Waterford artists that I can think of, even ones that have left Waterford, just to try and kind of capture the magic and creativity that comes from Waterford. Do you know?
Yeah, brilliant. I've come up with one more, and then I'll leave it alone. A guy called Matt McGinn, who's from he's from the north. He's from Belfast, but he has an album out since early this year called Lessons of War, which is it's an album about all different conflicts and wars, and it's and reactions to war, and that's a magical album. It's beautiful. Matt is a fantastic folk artist. His last album, The End of the Common Man, was one of my favorite albums of 2018. It's definitely in my top 10 in 2018. Absolutely brilliant, real Americana kind of a sound of brass and strings and the whole shebang. But this album is another step. Again, it's remarkable. There's a song on it called Bubblegum, which features Ciara O'Neill. I think Mick Flannery was actually lended a hand in writing the song as well. But that is a truly remarkable piece of music. It is gorgeous. There's a lot of innocence in it, a lot of vulnerability in it. It's a really beautifully written song. Actually, speaking of Mick Flannery as well, Mick Flannery's last album is a work of art, and that is another album that I have had on loop since it came out. That's one of the rare occasions where I've been influenced by, an album or a documentary or a book or something like we were talking about earlier on that I've got turned around and written a song about, and she wrote a song inspired by that album. So you know, that album is just remarkable. So Mick Flannery's self-titled album last year as well.
Perfect. So my last newest question that I'm trialing on people is, what's the first thing you're going to do when you get out of lockdown, Tadhg?
Oh God, you see that the typical thing I suppose to say would be I'm going straight to the pub. But I have a funny feeling the pubs are going to be closed for another long time. I was actually only talking about this yesterday with somebody. First thing I want to do is I want to grab a friend or a couple of friends. I want to hop in a car. I want to go for a big long drive. I want to go out to a beach somewhere, out somewhere next to the sea. I'm just mad to get out next to the sea again. I might go out and do the Dunmore Cliff Walk with a few friends, bring a few snacks, have a bit of a picnic. That's one of the things I'm definitely going to do first. I very often go out to the sea, So I actually don't swim in the sea at all. I have a bit of a fear of swimming in the sea, but I really enjoy being by the sea. I really enjoy the sea air, the freshness of it, and it really helps clear my mind. And I do that very often, maybe once every 3 or 4 weeks. I get the bus out from the Waterford, I get the bus out to Tramore or Dunmore, or if I'm in Dublin, I might get the Lewis or the Dart at the Howth or Dunleary, and just go for a big long walk out by the sea and just get the sea air into me. So that is something that I want to share with friends as soon as we're out of this, because that is something that I really, really miss.
That sounds beautiful. I keep forgetting to mention this in this interview, so I'm going to go back to it. Congratulations on being appointed as the live music officer for Trinity. That's pretty big news. You know, I mean, it's an unusual time to get that, but you know, I'm sure you'll make it work.
Yeah, I'm delighted with it. I was the music officer on Trinity's junior common room this year, which looks after all the first years in accommodation in Trinity Hall, and I was the music officer for that. So that was cool. I got to run a few open mics, got to run a few jam sessions, did things like that. That was pretty cool. So the live music officer now on the Trinity Ents committee is going to be a nice. I kind of feel like I'm continuing the job almost, you know. So I have a few ideas in mind. Obviously, I want to bring live bands back to Trinity is one thing I really want to do, because I feel like the Trinity entertainment culture has revolved very much around nightclubs and DJs the last few years. So I would like to bring live music and live acts back as actual events. That'd be cool. Up until now, I think the Battle of the Bands has been the only thing the live music officer has been involved in, or been in charge of. So I would like to expand the live music officer's portfolio a little bit for the future. I feel like by doing a few more bits. So yeah, that'll be cool. It'll be a nice one to do. It'll be full of even more experiences, you know. So it'll be good fun.
Yeah, well, I'm really proud of you. You're really smashing it. You know, you're doing so much, and it's just beautiful to watch someone else succeed so well and do it so flawlessly and effortlessly almost. But I know it's hard work. Don't believe I believe that it's not, like. So well done. Is there anything you'd like to add to the interview before you're finished with me, Tadhg?
Not a whole lot. Just thank you very much for having me on, first of all. This is lovely old chat. I was saying I brought out my Father's Clouds music video this week, which is on YouTube. It's on Instagram. It's on my Facebook page as well. So if people want to check that out, that'd be great. It's a song very special to me, like I was saying earlier on, you know. And hopefully it kind of signifies a sound that's to come in later releases. So yeah, if people want to check that out and stream it on Spotify and Apple Music and all the rest as well, it'd be much appreciated. So yeah, or if you want to buy it as well, you can do that on iTunes. It's really great. I really appreciate your 99 cents in the current climate. But yeah, that's about it, I think. Thank you very much for having me on. Much appreciated.
And thank you for being on the show. Do you know what's really mad? Last week I decided randomly I was going to give €1 to 5 different people on my Revolut account, and I just sent €1 to everyone with the specific request buy a tune with that. Like, I didn't care who they supported, just buy a tune and try spread the music magic and give everyone the gift of music, but also make sure that people are getting paid for their tracks. Because, you know, ultimately streaming platforms are cool and all to get your word out there, but you're not really going to profit from that. So I'm really trying to reinvent creative ways to make sure that artists are being supportive. So yeah, that's one of my suggestions. Like, €5 euro, buy a track.
That's a lovely idea. I love that. I'm actually going to go and do that myself now, actually. That's a really fantastic idea. Deadly.
Yeah. And if anyone enjoyed this Creative Cabin Fever, there is like 33 interviews. So subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow us on Facebook. And there's a lot more to come. I've 2 more interviews this weekend. One that I'm very, very, very extra super duper pumped. I won't be this chilling at all. But yeah, I'm excited. So I'll stop recording now. Tadhg, thank you so much.
Thanks a million, Rebecca. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you when this is over. We'll get a coffee.